I have someone trying to get in my door. Luke, you gotta go to bed. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Dads of Dagobah. We are reviewing episode 9 of Andor. It was called No One's Listening, which I thought was a great title for this episode. This, as you can tell, follows the three episode arc. So, episode 7 was an in between, and then 8 and 9, last week's and this week's, are the first two parts, and next week will probably be the jailbreak. We're setting up something big. But Sean, you got a word of the week this week?
Yeah, my word of the week is Borgullet. Because I feel like in Rogue One, we get introduced to Borgullet, the weirdest little octopus blob man that makes people go crazy while you interrogate them.
Borgullet will see the truth.
And here in this episode, we get the Empire's version of the death screams of a genocide that happened that makes people go crazy and it's like a Veritaserum.
Makes them tell the truth.
That's right.
My word of the week is the trolley, because our boy dies and gets taken off in a trolley. So there you go. I thought it was a great episode, Sean. I enjoyed this one. Again, the only knock is it suffers a bit because it's the middle. It's a middle episode, so it's not nothing's really happening, but things are really getting set up here. Just with anticipation for next week. But I did, Abby and I, after we watched it, were both a little confused, and we'll talk later about where we were confused and why. But there's some questions about I feel like a lot of things happened, a lot of names were thrown around, and it was hard to keep track of. But anyway, what do you think of the episode?
I thought it was very good. And yeah, you were right. For some reason, I had in my head that I didn't realize 7 was an in between. I thought 7 was going to be the start of a 3-episode arc, but it definitely is 8. Now 9 is a middle episode, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I thought it was a good episode. I guess when you look back on a number of the episodes this season, you could argue, oh, not a whole lot happened. And yet, I'll go back to the pacing and the tone and the suspense and tension that they're able to create in these episodes, even though major plot points may not be happening, it keeps you so engaged throughout the entire episode. Like during the episode, I never think to myself, nothing's happening. They need to hurry this up.
True.
Whereas in previous shows, there were definitely scenes that I felt like nothing's happening. We need to get to the thing that they're foreshadowing. You know what I mean?
I just wish we could see the next episode right away, which I guess is the hallmark of a great show, right?
Yeah.
Just like, I just love to see it.
Well, I saw on Twitter that there are some people that have not watched any of it yet because they are waiting for all of it to be released before they start watching. And there's something to be said for that. Would be a fun experience to be able to binge watch it.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, this is what I feel like Star Wars or any, IP or franchise should be doing, because it makes it a relevant weekly event for, 3 months.
Here's the problem, though. No one, as opposed to The Mandalorian, no one at work, no one at church, no one outside of you and me on Wednesday nights talk about this show. Mandalorian, everyone was talking about the show every week.
Yeah.
What's different about this show? Which I think is better than The Mandalorian.
I definitely think I'm pretty
Better
firmly
than
in the
Obi-Wan.
I'm pretty firmly in the camp at this point that this show overall is a better show. The asterisk or the caveat I would make is Andor does not have that has not gone as high as The Mandalorian or Obi-Wan went in terms of a moment. Like what's an iconic moment from Andor? I would say probably episode 6 is like the highlight so far.
Flying through the eye. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah. But I mean Mandalorian with the reveal of Grogu in the first episode of the whole series, the Luke Skywalker cameo, Ahsoka coming back. Like there are bigger fan service things in those shows that are more clippable, discussable, all these
Totally.
types of things
Totally
that
agree.
are more viral moments, whereas Andor hasn't really had that. But the point that I'm making is even without those things, overall I think the quality of the show is just higher. It's just a better show.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it's not being talked about as much is because there isn't as much or any at all really fan service of that Star Wars fans. There's no nostalgia factor, which I'm okay with, but I'm just acknowledging that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any nostalgia. I mean, maybe it would be the mention of Palpatine. Or maybe, or maybe it was uh gosh, I'm trying to Wolf Yularen. But even then it's like not a lot of people know who he is,
Yeah,
and no one ever even says his name. It's just in the captions. Or
yeah.
maybe, I'm trying to think of like you're right. There's no like fan servicey moments to get people hyped.
Cassian meeting Melshi for the first time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
But I'm like, are we gonna get K2SO in this, or is that season 2?
Uh the Alan Turk's been hired. He's cast in the show.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that there is any nostalgia factor. I mean, when you compare it to, we just came off of Obi-Wan, where you literally have Ewan McGregor reprising that role and Darth Vader in it, and
Princess
Hayden
Leia.
Christensen
Yep.
reprising Darth Vader, and them having lightsaber duels multiple times. Like that is a different draw for an audience. That is going to, I think, draw more casual fans in.
So
Uh,
what's the future of Star Wars shows? Are we going to keep shows like this going?
I think they should. I am optimistic that Andor will continue to find an audience, and I don't know if it's just got to be like word of mouth or what. That it's like one of the highest on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like one of the highest reviewed shows, isn't it?
I have diehard Star Wars fans who are friends of mine who still have not started watching Andor yet. Because they're just like, we haven't gotten around to it. And I don't know how much I can tell them, start watching it.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly what we talked about when we first um I think our first review, which was how much hype did you feel for this show? I felt almost no hype.
Yeah, I think, didn't you forget about it? You're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's coming.
Yeah, I wasn't like necessarily excited about it, and I didn't feel like it was going to be must see content for Star Wars. And 9 episodes into this thing, I definitely have changed my tune. Like I feel completely the opposite now. Like this is I think transcends just Star Wars. It's not a good show just because it's in the Star Wars universe. They've created an amazing story, and their narrative kind of storytelling through this show has been excellent, and it happens to be set in the Star Wars
I
universe.
totally agree. This show, take away the Empire, take away, I guess, really just the Empire. And really, there's hardly any stormtroopers. Take that away. This is a great story by itself.
Right. Yeah.
So start watching, people, if you haven't started watching yet. I just wish, because here's the future of Star Wars. The future is more Mandalorian. I'm sure another season of Book of Boba Fett, even though nothing's confirmed.
I don't think they'll do another season of Book of Boba Fett.
You don't
You
think
you
so?
think they're going to? The Book of Boba Fett literally was just Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah, that's true. There's going to be Ahsoka. The Acolyte, I guess, is the next show, right? Maybe.
Ahsoka, which obviously is
That's
going to
going to be fan
be,
servicey. That's going to have
yes,
Ezra. It's going to have Thrawn. It's going to have,
it has Hayden
Sabine.
in it
Yep.
as Force Ghost Anakin, I'm sure, or flashbacks. I don't
Yep.
know. But here's the thing: is that what was the other one you just said? Oh, the Acolyte. I feel like the Acolyte is like the next one where they can branch out and give us something different and hopefully have a show that stands on its own.
I'm just so upset that there's only 2 seasons of Andor. This is like, I don't know. Anyway,
Well, that clip you sent me that of Diego Luna explaining that in season 2, every 3 episodes is a full year.
yeah,
So this show started 5 years
Yavin. Yep.
before Rogue One, basically. So, we're counting down to Rogue One, which is obviously the end of the character. So this season is, I'm assuming this is a full year that we're going to spend in this first season.
Makes sense.
And then in season 2, the first 3 episodes will be a year, second 3 episodes a year, third 3 episodes a year, fourth 3 episodes a year, which will take you all the way to the start of Rogue One. Which I was a little bit sad about that because I feel like season 2 is going to feel way more rushed and less congruent because now you're going to have massive time jumps between the 3 episode arcs, whereas right now it feels like a very continuous story.
Yeah. They throw in time jumps, but it's not as noticeable.
Right.
This is a great show. I cannot stop singing my praise about this show. Let's talk a
So
little bit. What?
I was going to say, yeah. So what actually happened in this episode that made it so great?
So we start off with a torture. We made the grave mistake of choosing this episode as the first episode we'd watch with our kids,
Uh-oh.
and started off with this scene. And I was like, okay, so we actually skipped part of this scene where she puts on the headset. So I don't know what happens. Do we hear anything, or what does it sound like, or anything when they put on the headset?
Let me just real quick say, at least it wasn't, the first introduction wasn't Yaddle getting decapitated.
I'm pretty sure she's decapitated.
I feel like, no, they did not let the audience hear what was going on in that headset. They just put it on her on Bix, and then she just kind of started straining and then started screaming. But we did not hear the
Okay.
noise.
Okay. Quite the interrogation. We've seen torture a few times. Princess Leia, Han Solo, Poe in Episode 7. That's about it, though. So this is kind of an intense scene, I feel like.
And this one feels, more realistic or real of the tactic of if you cooperate, we won't use this torture device on you, basically.
But she says, no matter what I say, you won't believe me. She's like,
And
you're right.
I think that's what, as an audience member, you're already feeling from the get-go.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, as soon as the questions start being
Well, as
answered,
soon as the doctor waves his hand, like, hi, like, uh-oh.
listen, to the FBI agents watching this, I just want you to know, I was internally thinking as this scene was happening, what would I do in this situation? And I'm fairly confident that I'm the type of person that before they even asked a question, I would
Squeal
be
like a
telling
pig.
my entire life story. I would just be divulging every detail of anything that ever happened to me, whether I thought it was relevant or not. I'm like, I'm an open book, people. I've got nothing to hide. But the point is that you almost at that point think it doesn't matter what I say. They're either one, not going to believe me, or they are going to believe me, but then they're going to dispose of me after.
Yep.
Like it becomes at that point just such a mind game, and they haven't even started the actual like psychological torture through the little headphone thing. And I feel like I already would be just completely wrapped up in this mind game that they're playing.
Right. So it seems like she spills the beans. From what we see at the ISB, right? All the information they have is correct, but she critically can identify who Axis is,
Can I tell you what
the
I was a
buyer.
little confused about?
What?
Was how Deidre Mebo, whoever the blonde officer lady, if they were interrogating and torturing Pack, the guy who owns the place, the shipyard or whatever where the radio was,
Mm-hmm.
and the Imperial interrogator lady was giving all these details of Bix and her relationship with Cassian and how Tom died. Was his name Tom?
Tim.
Tim. How Tim died because she was detained and all this stuff. And I'm like, how did Pack know all of that? Some of those details were not things that he was witnessing. And I'm like, and I have a hard time believing that Bix like went down and was like, this is everything that has happened to me in the last few weeks
Well, I
or
think he got
last few
tortured too,
months.
right?
What?
Didn't he get tortured too?
He got tortured, but I'm saying like even though he was tortured, and how did he divulge information that he wouldn't have had anyway? That was my
Oh,
thought during that. That she seemed to have details as a result of her interrogation of Pack that I thought Pack wouldn't know that. So how would Pack divulge that during torture?
cops can lie during interrogations. Maybe she's making it up.
True.
Maybe she just knows.
Probably true. But anyway, they used the screams of the children of whatever alien race that was that they
Uh,
massacred. Um,
they
and
did it
she,
gleefully. He like laughed about it. Like they put up a resistance, so they were taken care of.
don't you feel like that Dr. Gork or whatever they called him? Don't you feel like you want an on-screen death for him?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I want them to put that helmet on him and just leave it on and walk out of the room and he's just trapped forever for eternity with that
Oh,
helmet on. Yeah. Yep. I went there.
Moving on, let's go to Narkina 5, where things are happening on level 2. This was a clip that was released a few days ago. Yeah, I don't. It's so interesting. It's such a good way of showing a rebellion. Um, like I think I said this last week. It's so out there in the open. The Empire doesn't care. I wonder if the Empire even knows. Well, I guess they wouldn't know, right? Because they don't care to watch.
I think to your point last week, I think that prison one is just understaffed
Yeah.
and they don't have the resources to, like, they are completely dependent on this floor that will fry people to keep everyone in line. Um, but yeah, so I don't think they're not monitoring when they're in the hallway and all that kind of stuff.
On program. Here's my first question. We're learning at the beginning. They're identifying a problem on level 2, right? They know there's a problem. That's the message they're getting. And hold on, I have his name right here. Uh Kino Loy, Andy Serkis, is like, stay on program, focus. It takes a week to get any word up here. We're so far behind in news, right? I would assume he's telling the truth about that. Like it takes so because it seems like he is part of because at the end we kind of see he knows things. Um, but then so they already know that there's a problem on level 2, and then there's that power surge blackout, which I assume is level 2 getting fried, right? So how did they know about the problem on level 2 before the level 2 died?
Yeah, I don't. Well, first of all, I don't understand. We're obviously made to believe that that power surge is the event that's happening on level 2 where they fry everybody.
Uh huh.
My question is, Was that just because they left the frying floor on longer than normal to kill everyone? Or what? Why would that cause a power surge? Because isn't this prison literally equipped or built for frying people? So,
I don't think they fried as many people as they have at one time.
okay.
Maybe they did a higher. Oh, because the guy said, remember at the beginning, he said that was only a level 2 or something. Like maybe they have different
Oh,
levels of intensity.
maybe they did a higher level. You're right. That's a good explanation. Okay. I'm on board with that.
Anyway, I'm just curious as to how they
But
knew
yes,
about the problem on 2 before the frying happened.
well, maybe they're communicating that. Yeah, because what's the timeline of? So we learn at the end of the episode, I think the context is there's a guy on 4 or another level that was released. He finished his sentence.
This is where I have another question, but I want to hear your explanation before I ask my question.
So he got down to 0 shifts left.
Uh huh.
He was then released from the floor he was on, and the next day he was on 2, implying that he never was actually released. He never left the prison. He just left that floor and they just made him go to another floor, and then he incited a riot, or
This is what I okay. I like that explanation, but this is what I don't understand. Then the doctor says the Empire made a mistake by putting him back on another floor. Well, I mean, what did the Empire think was going to happen?
yeah.
The Empire thinks they don't talk to each other.
Yeah, I guess yeah, what was the mistake? The mistake was that they put him on another floor and they thought he wasn't going to have a problem with that, or he wasn't going
Yeah,
to tell everyone on his new floor.
I just got off of 5.
I just was on 5 and I got down to 0 and now they put me back in here and my numbers back up to 2000. And they're all like, "Okay, they're never going to let us out. We have to try to break out." And then they killed everyone.
This is my head canon. I thought about this a lot because that really bothered me, that last line. Um, I think his shifts ended on 5. Then, in order to keep him, they were supposed to just transfer him to some other prison somewhere, whether in the galaxy, on some other planet somewhere. But the mistake was they routed him right back to Narkina 5. And so he doesn't say anything. They come back to Narkina 5. He's now on 2. He's like, wait a second. I was just here. That was their mistake, was shipping him back to the same planet in there because they can't keep track of him. That was their mistake. That's my headcanon.
That makes a
Otherwise, it
lot
doesn't
of
make any sense for them to just be like 5 down to 2. Don't say anything. But maybe that is it.
No, I think your explanation is better. I think that it's he maybe, yeah, got on a shuttle to go processing and they planned, okay, he was on Narkina 5. Now we're going to send him to Wobani or wherever, Jyn
Yeah.
Erso was.
Uh
We're
huh.
sending him to another prison planet. But there was a mistake, a mix up in the paperwork and the logistics, and he got sent back like the next day. And he's like, well, yeah, I was just here. Why am I back in prison? What did I do?
Uh huh.
But it's very interesting because we have gone from a sentence that used to be 6 months is now 6 years, to the extreme of even when you complete your 6 years, this is a life sentence now.
Yeah.
They're not letting anybody out. And I mean, Andy Serkis, great character, great acting,
Great
um,
arc just in this episode.
just a great arc in this episode alone where you see him go from, if you're compliant and you follow the rules and you serve your time, you're going to get out of here just fine. And he doesn't like all the conspiracy talk. He doesn't like all the talk about breaking out like at night with Cassian, because he's like, I don't know. He thinks they are listening. And he's like, I don't need to be associated with you and I don't need to get my nose dirty in anything
Mm-hmm.
because I'm out of here in 41 days. Um, to then go from that to a good worker Ufa or whatever his name is having his stroke, and I think Andy Serkis legitimately feeling like they probably served together for most of their sentences, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So he probably feels some attachment to these men that he's like in charge of, and he's like, this guy's so close to going home. I guess Ufe had 40 days left, and Andy Serkis had like 210 or something.
Yeah, but still very close to the end for
Yeah.
him.
But anyway, so I mean, I think he felt a little bit of a vested, interest in cheering on this old man that's about to get out, and then he has this stroke, and he's learning the Empire is, yeah, they're gonna keep everyone here forever, like, and they're telling the medics to just euthanize people.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like that was a fantastic ending to the episode in that how many guards on each level, and Andy Serkis is like
He
he's
knows
ready to
there's
join
12.
in, because I think obviously the realization is I will be here the rest of my life. If I don't try to help you guys break out, then I'll just be here forever. Like my obedience and compliance to the rules of the prison or the orders that the guards are giving me is not garnering me any type of goodwill
Yeah, it's
or
doing me no good.
leniency from the Empire. Like they will just take advantage of that and use you for the rest of your life.
Mm.
Which is even crazier when you think of Cassian, who literally is in that prison on a false charge and is serving a life sentence because of it.
Yep.
This is why I don't like actually watching like true crime documentaries or the documentaries where they like prove someone's innocent and that person has spent like decades in jail. It's very upsetting.
Yeah. What could he have done? What could he have done? Not walked on the beach near those guys?
Yeah. Anyway,
It's too close to home sometimes. Um, I mean, just great scenes. Uh, and what one guy says something like he's getting relieved or something, and Andy Serkis is like, "Stop that!" What does the guy say? Like he gets, I can't remember.
yeah, it's Melshi, isn't it? Melshi says something and he goes and starts like punching him.
Uh huh. And then
Uh,
Cassie's like, "Back on program."
yeah, I don't remember.
So is that the day shift and the night shift switching? Is that what it is?
It
Night
must
shift is
be.
coming out, day shift is coming in.
I feel like that's what it must be. Yeah.
I heard a really funny theory about what they're making. They're making nothing. They make it on 2, ship it down to 3, 3 takes it apart, ship it down to 4, 4 puts it together.
There's no way. There's no way the Empire would be
Yeah.
that inefficient with their slave labor.
Well, and we did learn they are both cheaper and easier to maintain than droids. So there's your answer about why don't they
Easier to
use droids?
replace.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, easier to replace. Yeah. Okay, so that takes care of Narkina 5. What about Coruscant? What is going on there? We have a little creeper hiding in the bushes. Has a little love interest.
That's
Is
my
it
guy.
love? Is it love or is it just infatuation with the Empire?
Am I the only person that was like weirdly confused by that scene?
I think it was totally meant to have confusion.
But I mean, on many levels, I'm
Okay.
confused at Cyril's motivation
I
because
think he's infatuated with the Empire.
right, but he doesn't actually ask to help. He literally just is being very aggressive in thanking her for helping him realize that there's like justice in the world.
Yeah, that's
He
a good
doesn't
point.
even say,
What's his
"Let
end
me
goal
help."
here?
He's not even like, "I have information, let me help, like I can do this." It's literally just I've been waiting outside of your workplace hoping to run into you because I wanted you to know that I wanted to thank you for helping me get my promotion, and I wanted you to know that I thought life was meaningless until I talked with you about torturing people in the name of the empire, and that really got me going. And I was a little bit aroused,
Oh
and it
gosh,
gave me a zest for life again. And then
he's a new man.
she's like, "You are freaking me out. I could have you arrested." And she tries to walk past him, and then he grabs her arm, and he's like, "The galaxy is beautiful because of what you've done." And I'm like, "Are you like in love with her? Are you just like a psychopath?" Like, and then I was also confused
Why
by
doesn't she arrest him?
I'm also confused by like, does she weirdly like this interaction right now? Because she's threatening him multiple times, but does not go through with it, and is almost like it's very strange.
She has that moment in her office where she's like thinking about it. Like, no, I can't go. I need to stay behind. I'm like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, I just
Someone
the
who in
whole
a previous scene just tortured someone, now she's
yeah
like, you could be arrested. 30 seconds later, I could have you arrested for this, you know,
yeah.
but she doesn't.
So she gives him like a second and third chance, which is like she doesn't seem like the type of person that just does that out of she does not like just an empathetic person that out of the goodness of her heart.
I wonder if this is like a weird way, but a beautiful way of showing how people who have no heart ex- show love. Like they don't know how to show love or they don't know how to have feelings for other people. So like maybe this is like I don't know. I'm just shooting in the dark, and maybe this is like the beginning of a romance in the empire in the ISB. But like it's so awkward because they both have a hatred for people. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's weird. It's
I,
freaking me
I
out.
mean, obviously they're going to interact again. They're not going to leave it at that, right?
Yeah. They're gonna interact again. Cyril, what do you think about his relationship with Mrs. Fig, his mother?
I love it. I love it so much. How immediately she switches from you have I can't believe this house is so dirty. You're not doing anything. You're nobody a low life. I got a promotion. Oh, how wonderful. Uncle Harlow will be so pleased. I laughed so hard at that because I know how much you love Uncle Harlow.
Uncle Harlow, I think Uncle Harlow's gonna either be Dabo, the wealthy Chandrillan thug. It could be literally Palpatine. I mean, it could be
Oh.
anyone at this point.
The Jar Jar Binks.
So what I found funny was Cyril has like so much contempt for his mother, and yet while she is obviously quirky, in my mind I'm like, you're acting like you're so above her and like so holier than thou. You are literally a loser that's like eating Cocoa Puffs at your mom's house every morning because, first of all, why are you even living with her still? You got a job, you got a
Uh
promotion, you can't get your own place, my man. You're still living with
huh.
mom. So he's all like annoyed with her about you went through my stuff. I'm like, well, you live with your mom, so she's entitled to go through anything she wants. It's her house. But I knew you went through my private box. I
I have
set a
ways of
booby
knowing.
trap. I have booby traps on it, so I know when you go through my stuff. Like, okay, calm down,
A
mister.
single elk hair wrapped around my book.
Yeah. And then she's doing a weird guilt trip about, well, you're lucky I didn't go insane from the neglect when you were on Morlana.
They're both so dramatic.
Can you imagine if you came back and I just was a shattered husk of myself because of all the neglect? You're lucky I was even here insane to even pick up the pieces when your life shattered and you came back crawling home with your tail between your legs. I'm like, these people have the most toxic, dysfunctional relationship I've ever seen.
Well, see, that's the love he gets at home, so that's the only way he knows how to express it to an ISB officer who thinks that interrogation he had was a first date. I mean, cute.
And yeah. And it just solidifies to me that Uncle Harlow has to be involved in like the criminal underworld, organized crime, because I feel like that's where his contempt for it comes, and that's why his pendulum has swung so far the other way about just complete justice and empirical rule, um,
Hmm.
as opposed to going into the family business that's maybe a shady line of work.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. A little bit more happens at the ISB. They've recovered a rebel ship, and they're going to use it as bait to draw out the rebels. They're going to send it to its destination so that the planned attack by the rebels they can intercept. Did I understand that whole thing correctly?
Yeah, and I mean they already interrogated the pilot, and they're about to just kill the pilot and
Yeah.
plant his body in the drifting ship. But I when they were talking about that whole scenario, I did for a good portion of it, my brain was just going and rolling through the names, and I'm like, am I supposed to know any of these names, or are these supposed to be meaningful to me in some way? Like, I feel like they were familiar, like we had heard them, but I don't know how they connect to anything else, like this pilot, this ship, or is it literally just supposed to be the ISB is working on drawing the rebels out?
Yeah. I wonder if I haven't watched any of the hidden Easter eggs videos that I usually do on YouTube, but I'm sure some of those names have some meaning.
Yeah.
Oh, some of the names are from the meeting with Saw and um what's his face from last week?
Luthen.
Luthen. They mentioned some of those names and the planet.
Gotcha. Well, I feel like the ISB scenes when they're all in that little council room,
Mm-hmm.
um, I kind of enjoy those scenes. I feel like they're obviously they're on the wrong side of this, but they just think that they're doing like excellent investigative work. And it's just like it's a mystery that they're slowly unraveling, they're
Yep.
slowly solving.
They're
They're,
getting there.
yeah, and they're making progress. Now, do you feel like there's some tension going on here between our girl Meebo and her underling that
Deidre
keeps
Miro.
Deidre Miro, and her underling that keeps speaking up when he's not been given permission, and he's just unilaterally making decisions. Like she's like, send Dr. Gork out there, and he's like, I already did. And she's like, I will literally kill you.
No, she said nice work, didn't she?
She said nice work, but I know this is I think why I like this show so much is because it's like this is my workplace every day. It's a political corporate ladder, and everybody is a threat.
Really?
I mean, no, not really, but I feel like I got the sense that she was maybe a little threatened by, okay, like, don't get too big for your britches.
He's trying to use her to climb the ladder
Yeah,
above her.
like that was my decision to make. Now it was the right decision, but now if anyone asks, technically, you're going to get credit for that
Yeah.
because you jumped chain of command and made a decision without my approval.
As opposed to Andor, who gives the credit to his teammate, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, hey, that was a good idea. Hey, that was his idea. Oh, nice work.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, Lastly, let's talk about our girl, Miss Mon Mothma. First of all, her husband's an idiot, and we all hate him. Secondly, is Vel actually her cousin,
I think
or is
she
that a
actually
cover?
I think she actually is.
Oh, okay. I thought so too, but I also wondered maybe this is just an elaborate ruse or something.
I feel like she actually is because what's his bucket?
His
What's the
bucket,
husband's name? Perrin?
his bucket's name is. I
The
have a
husband?
list of all the names here. Oh, he's not on the list. I don't
I
know his
I
name.
think it's Perrin. The husband They got married when they were 15.
Uh-huh.
And Mon Mothma at 15 was not part of a rebel alliance or discussing starting a rebel alliance. So it would be very suspicious to the husband, I think, if 2 or 3 years ago, or even 5 years ago, or whenever it was, um, if all of a sudden this cousin showed up
True.
that he had never heard of before. So
Like, now, where do you know him?
I think it's a real cousin, and it's just that familial relationship connected Mon Mothma with Vel, and they started working together. And Mon Mothma trusted Vel enough to let her know in the early conversations with Bail Organa and everybody, this is what we're working on.
Mm-hmm. This is
Now,
where it
the
gets a
question
little...
of how she connects with Luthen is another
Yeah.
question that I'm not sure we know yet.
I guess I was a little bit confused too about what's happening with the money. I'm not sure what the... I know there's a problem. I guess the main thing I need to take away is there's a problem and they need to get someone they don't like to help out with the problem. Because I don't know, he has the money and he needs to give it to her, but they need to cover of how it transfers to her or something, right?
Yeah, it's obvious. So $400,000 that has gone missing or was just like transferred somewhere, and if they follow the money, it's going to be suspicious.
Right.
But I think there's $400,000 unaccounted for that when the Empire does their scans or audits, it's going to flag, and Mon Mothma is not going to have an explanation for.
They need to launder it somehow.
Yes,
Okay. Hmm. So is it her money? Whose money is it?
I think it's her money. Yes, I think it's her money.
So she just can't give it to the foundation, the charity. That's the issue, right? Because the charity is the front for the rebellion.
Yeah, I guess. You're right. I don't know. I'm not sure that they've really explained it at that level of detail for us to understand it
Yeah,
that
maybe
thoroughly.
I need to get out of the weeds here.
I think that it's basically been covered in two conversations
Yeah,
that have not been super detailed. And
they're
I think
talking
it's
around it, right? Yeah,
right. It's mostly her with her banker friend, childhood friend, talking about how they need more money to fund the rebellion, and he needs her help to do that, or she needs his help to do that. And he's like, well, we can't do that without drawing unwanted attention unless we bring in a big fish that knows how to move money around like that. Implying to me, again, a mobster of some sort,
yeah.
a kingpin in the
A
criminal
hut?
underworld.
Is it a
I don't
hut?
think a hut. I've never heard it because it wasn't Davo the Hut. It was Davo something else.
The twins? Can you imagine the fan service if the twins came? Remember, like that first episode of Book of Boba Fett, we thought the twins would be more highly featured. Did we ever see them again?
At the first sign of trouble, they were like, we're bouncing. You guys can have Tatooine.
Oh, that's right. They did come back and say that, didn't they?
And they were like, and we're bouncing. You can have Tatooine, and as a parting gift, you can have Black Chrysanthemum. And it's like, what? It was the weirdest. That's not what we're talking about. I what a hugely missed opportunity in terms of using some cool characters to do something relevant, and it was like the biggest. They those two characters perfectly embody the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Like, really cool concept, really strange execution.
And then inexplicably not used and sent away.
Ultimately dissatisfying.
We thought we were going to Nalhutta. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, okay. Let's finish this episode. Excited for episode 10 next week. Seems like it's going to be a jailbreak. What are some other storylines we think are going to come to fruition here? Is the Empire going to find out who Luthen is? I feel like that's inevitable, right?
feel like it's inevitable. We've got to. I feel like the last 3 episodes, we've got to see more of Saw.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll probably transition to the jailbreak. He maybe connects up with Luthen again, or Vel, or whoever it is, or Cinta. I don't know. And then we get to this ship floating to draw the rebels out, and maybe the rebels that are drawn out is Saw and his band, and we see that's the climax there. I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
I think that they're foreshadowing a little bit like something more with uh,
Bix.
Marva
Yeah. Marva, Bix.
and Bix,
Yeah. I
obviously.
think it's going to be the hanging of Pav.
Yeah,
They want to be ticked.
yeah. Because his like buddy Bix is, the big guy is
Uh huh.
still in the mix. Like he wasn't arrested or anything. He's still there. So yeah, I think I'm wondering if what's the resolution for Cassian by the end of this season in the next 3 episodes? Is it him being committed to the rebellion? I'm assuming. Like that's the arc we're trying to get to by the end of episode 12. Is that he's like, I'm totally committed to fighting the Empire now.
I guess. Also, his sister. We got to find his sister somewhere,
Oh
right?
yeah, like is that going to be a thing still? Huh.
It's kind of fun because at this point, with 3 episodes left, we're still like, wow, there's a lot of unanswered questions that I don't see how they're going to resolve any of it. Like, how are they actually going to get off this prison? You know, it still seems like an insurmountable task. Yet we know it's going to happen.
Right.
So, well, what should we? How should
Well,
we leave
oh,
off?
wait. Okay, here's a question. Is Jin Urso currently with Saw Gerrera? Because Saw basically like raises her, right? She's a part of his band until she's like 16 or something.
Maybe,
And then he
maybe she
like
is with them.
deserts her.
Uh huh.
So how old do we think she is in Rogue One? 21? I don't know.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? I'm like, are we getting a Jin Urso cameo? That'd be cool. Do you remember? I should just rewatch Rogue One because I can't remember. Does Cassian ever let on that he has met or worked with Saw, or he just knows of Saw peripherally?
Doesn't he get thrown straight into jail? Does he ever see Saw?
Yeah. Does he see Saw
I thought it's just him. I thought it's just Saw
on the
and
seesaw?
Jin, and Andor's just in jail with blind guy, can't see, or no, not blind guy. Borgullet guy. What's his name?
Bodhi.
Bodhi. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Are you the pilot? Are you the pilot? I'm the pilot.
Shoot. I don't think Cassian has met Saw. Well, I mean, okay, in Rogue One he doesn't meet Saw, so maybe he meets Saw later or earlier, and so they can explain it by him not meeting him in Rogue One. Um, hmm. Sure, he knows the name though.
Yeah, I think he does. I think earlier in Rogue One, when someone says we need to go to see Saw Gerrera, he makes a comment about how they're just, I don't know what he says.
Partisans, or
Yeah.
what does he call them?
He doesn't call them mercenaries or extremists or
Yeah.
terrorists or something.
Oh yeah, when they're talking on the Avon, right, with Mon Mothma and other guy.
Right.
Um. Okay. Great episode. Leave your comment down below. Uh. I don't know. What's a good question for this week?
Um,
I don't have it.
would you want to be euthanized if you had a stroke? My answer is no.
Oh, here's your question: Are Cyril and
Deidre,
Deidre getting hitched? Having a little love interest? I say
great
yes.
question.
Anyway, that's it. Leave a comment, share us. See us next week for the conclusion of this arc, episode 10. There's 3 more episodes left.
That's right. I'm excited for them. I feel like they're going to be great episodes. And until next time, we have spoken.
This is the way
And we'll see you next time
on the
on
Dads
the
of
Dads of
Dagobah.
Dagobah.